A black car screeched to a halt in front of the school, its tires kicking up dust that glittered in the afternoon sun. Moments before, I'd watched my son, Eli, sitting alone on a bench, his small frame hunched as the rest of his class posed for their photo. My heart shattered. He wasn't crying or angry, just sat there, hands folded in his lap, as if willing himself to vanish. I overheard his teacher whisper to another staff member, "He doesn't have the right clothes." With those words, they'd told my 9-year-old he wasn't good enough to be seen. A few kids laughed. One girl pointed at his shirt and sneered, "Is that from a thrift store?" I watched his head lower. He didn't fight back, didn't say a word. I stood frozen, clutching the paper cups I'd volunteered to bring for picture day. My hands trembled. I wanted to storm over and scream, to tell that teacher exactly what I thought, but I didn't want to make it worse for Eli. Just as I turned toward my car, the black car appeared. A man in a dark suit stepped out, holding a professional camera. He adjusted his tie, looked straight at my son, and smiled. "Let's make some magic," he said. Mornings in our house were always chaotic, but on picture day, we tried to make it special. I'd risen an hour early to iron Eli's shirt, a soft green one with a tiny embroidered tree on the pocket. Nothing fancy, but it was his favorite. He'd chosen it from a donation bin at the community center 3 months ago. It was a bit loose at the shoulders and short at the cuffs now, but he loved how it felt when he ran. "Come here, buddy," I called from the kitchen, balancing a buttered bagel in one hand and a comb in the other. "Let's fix your hair." Eli shuffled in quietly, never much of a morning person. His oversized backpack dragged behind him like a shadow. I patted the chair, and he climbed up, looking at me through the mirror we'd taped to the back of a cabinet. "Do I look okay?" he asked softly, fingers twisting in his lap. "You look amazing," I said, sweeping his dark hair into place. "Handsome. The coolest boy in 4th grade." He tried to smile, but worry lingered in his eyes. Eli wasn't like the other kids in his class. He was quiet, thoughtful, often lost in his own world. While others obsessed over video games or brand-name sneakers, Eli sketched dragonflies in the margins of his notebooks. He had a gentle heart, easily bruised. Since his dad passed 2 years ago, he'd grown quieter, as if his soul had tucked itself into a corner. We were scraping by. I worked mornings at a diner and evenings cleaning offices. Every dollar stretched thin, and dinner was often just eggs and toast, but I kept things steady for Eli. He never complained. He'd taped the picture day flyer to the fridge a week earlier, circling the date in blue marker. "Can you come to school that day?" he asked. They said parents can help set up. I'd already picked up an extra shift, but I called in to say I couldn't make it. Eli didn't ask why, just hugged me and said, "Thank you." That morning, I packed his lunch with care, slipping in a cookie I'd saved from the diner's tip jar. We walked to school together, hand in hand, past houses with neat lawns and cars that purred instead of rattled. I tried not to notice the other kids in crisp clothes or the moms in workout gear with coffee cups. I didn't want Eli to notice either. As we neared the school, his steps slowed. His grip tightened on my fingers. "I hope Mrs. Grayson likes my shirt," he murmured. I knelt beside him, tucking a stray hair behind his ear. "Eli, sweetheart, you wear what you love. That's what makes it special. You don't need anyone's approval." He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. At the school, parents and teachers clustered around the gym entrance. Balloons framed the door, and a table held snacks and props. Tiny chalkboards reading, "Class of 2033, and "Picture Perfect." Hello. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey. If you enjoy story like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world. Now let's dive into the story. Mrs. Grayson stood nearby, clipboard in hand, her lips pursed into something that wasn't quite a smile. She always looked like she'd smelled something sour. Eli gave a small wave, but she didn't respond. Her eyes scanned his outfit, lingering too long. My stomach twisted. I set down the bag of cups I'd brought and knelt beside Eli again. "You're going to do great. Just be yourself. It's all you need to be." "Okay," he whispered. He took a deep breath and walked toward the group. I stayed back, watching his small figure among the other kids. He looked so proud, so hopeful. If I'd known what was coming, I'd never have let go of his hand. Eli stood near the gym's edge with his class, nervously smoothing his shirt. He kept checking a little mirror in his hand, adjusting his hair, trying to tame the wild strands. He was doing what kids do when they want to fit in, making himself smaller, neater, less noticeable. I stood with other parents, clutching napkins I'd brought. The gym was warm, stuffy with hairspray and cupcakes. Kids buzzed with excitement. A photographer adjusted lights by a backdrop, a blue sky with painted clouds and "Class of 2033" in gold letters. Mrs. Grayson's voice cut through. "Okay, everyone, find your buddy and line up by height." Kids scrambled into rows. Eli hovered near the back, unsure. He was taller than some boys, shorter than others, clearly hesitant. I saw his eyes dart, searching for a place to belong. Then it happened. Mrs. Grayson leaned over and whispered to the teaching aide. I caught one phrase that sliced through me. "He doesn't have the right clothes." The aide glanced at Eli, then nodded slightly. "Eli, sweetheart," Mrs. Grayson called, her voice syrupy but sharp. "Why don't you wait over there by the bench for a bit?" Eli looked confused, taking a hesitant step forward. "Just for a moment," she said, her smile cold. "We're working on the class layout." I saw it register in Eli's face. He stopped, turned, and without a word, walked to the bench, sat, and folded his hands in his lap. The other kids noticed. One girl, always quick with a jab, snickered. "Guess picture day's only for people who shop at the mall." Another laughed. "Nice shirt, Goodwill boy." I couldn't move. My body locked up. My son, my brave, quiet boy, sat alone while his class prepared to be photographed. The teacher didn't say he couldn't be in the picture outright. She did worse, she made him feel he didn't belong. I stepped forward, mouth opening, wanting to demand they include him, but I stopped. What would I be walking into? Would I be the angry mom? Would it shame Eli more? He was already curled in on himself, like a leaf wilting in frost. I looked around. No other parents spoke. Some had heard, they looked away. I knelt, pretending to straighten napkins, trying to calm the storm inside me. I kept glancing at Eli. He didn't cry. That gutted me most. He didn't even look upset, just resigned, like he'd already learned what the world thought of boys like him. The class photo was taken without him. Flash, click, laughter. I stood frozen, fighting tears, trying not to crumble. The event ended quickly. Kids grabbed juice boxes. Parents snapped selfies with their children. Eli stayed on the bench, hands clenched in his lap. He didn't move until the crowd thinned. He walked to me slowly, eyes dry but dull. "Can we go now?" he asked quietly. I nodded. "Yeah, let's go." We left the gym in silence, my grip on his hand tighter, fiercer. Outside, the sun broke through clouds, but I felt cold. At the parking lot's edge, I turned to him. "Do you want to do your own picture day?" He looked confused. "What do you mean? We don't need them to see you. We just need the right lens." I pulled out my phone and texted Marcus Reed. I hadn't spoken to him in nearly a year, not since he'd moved to a bigger city for private clients. He'd worked with my husband, David, before the accident. Marcus was a wedding photographer then, the best I'd seen. He'd taken our only family portrait, us three smiling under a backyard tree, David lifting Eli onto his shoulders. My fingers hovered, then typed. "Hey, are you still doing photos? I need something special today for Eli." I hit send and started walking. I didn't tell Eli yet. His steps beside me were heavy, like he was trying to fade with each one. We passed the playground, through the lot, toward the hill where the pickup area met the sidewalk. My phone buzzed. "I'm 10 minutes away. Say the word, I'll be there." My chest tightened. I typed back, "Please come." Eli and I sat on a low stone wall by the curb. The sun warmed our faces. I handed him a juice box I'd brought for after the event. He took it silently, poked the straw in, and stared at the ground as he sipped. "Do you remember Marcus?" I asked gently. He nodded, not looking up. "He's the camera guy." "Yeah, the one who took that picture of you and Daddy with the hose in the backyard." His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "He's coming to take your picture," I said. "Just for you. Not because someone told him to, not because there's a backdrop, but because he knows how special you are." He looked at me, eyebrows slightly raised. "Why?" "Because they didn't see you in there today," I said, pointing toward the school. "But I did, and he will." He didn't speak but reached for my hand. Minutes passed. I kept checking the street. Then I saw it. The sleek black car pulling up, shining like it had just rolled off a lot. It looked out of place at the elementary school. The door opened, and out stepped Marcus Reed. He looked the same. Black slacks, fitted grey blazer, shirt unbuttoned just enough to seem effortless. A matte black DSLR hung across his chest. He spotted us and smiled. "Eli," he called, walking over. "I heard we've got a photo emergency." Eli blinked, staring like Marcus wasn't real. Marcus knelt in front of him. "I'm Marcus. We met when you were little. I used to chase you around with a camera. You hated it." Eli's voice was a whisper. "I don't hate it now." Marcus grinned. "That's what I like to hear. Ready to make some magic?" Eli glanced at me, unsure. "Only if you want to," I said softly. He nodded. We walked across the field behind the school to a grove of trees. Cherry blossoms bloomed, petals drifting like pink snowflakes. Marcus set up quickly, light reflector on the grass, switching lenses, adjusting angles. He took a test shot, checked the screen, and looked at Eli. "Okay, let's do one standing tall. Chin up, arms loose, looking past me like you're dreaming of something big." Eli did it. "Perfect," Marcus said. Click. "Now give me a little spin, hair toss, that's it." Click. Eli started smiling, not a forced school photo smile, but a real one, bubbling up before he could stop it. Marcus lowered his camera. "You're a natural." Eli beamed. I stood aside, arms crossed, not from cold but to hold myself together. I'd have cried otherwise, not from sadness, but from relief, seeing Eli's light return. This wasn't just a photo shoot. It was a reclaiming of his worth, a reminder he mattered. Marcus showed Eli the camera's screen. Eli leaned in, blinking, like he wasn't sure that boy, strong, radiant, glowing in soft sunlight, was him. He looked older, not weighed down, but like he'd stepped into something new, someone who'd faced the worst part of his day and still stood tall. "I look good," he said, blinking. "You look like yourself," Marcus replied. "And that's more than good. That's rare." Eli smiled, the kind that reached his eyes. Marcus took more shots as Eli played with a branch, holding a cherry blossom like a tiny badge. Then, as if the moment knew its work was done, the light softened, the wind slowed, and Eli exhaled, like he'd released something heavy he'd carried for years. Marcus packed up. "I'll send the edits tonight. Prints tomorrow. You don't have to rush," I said. He gave me that old friend smile, the one that reminded me of David. "Yes, I do. Trust me." We walked back to the school as the last parents trickled out, chatting, loading balloons into minivans. I spotted Mrs. Grayson by the gym door, clipboard under her arm, instructing the aide who'd stood silent during Eli's exclusion. She turned toward us, her eyes flicking from me to Marcus, then his camera, then Eli. She did a double take. Eli wasn't dragging his feet or looking down anymore. He walked steady, shoulders back, still holding my hand. We stopped by the gate. I said nothing. Marcus, however, had no restraint. He pulled a sleek black card from his wallet and handed it to her. "Reed Studios," he said with an easy smile. "Feel free to reach out next time you want everyone included." He didn't wait for a reply, turning back to us and giving Eli a playful salute. "You were incredible today." Eli grinned, giving a tiny wave. Mrs. Grayson said nothing, staring at the card like it might sting. We drove home, windows down, spring air brushing through our hair like the world was starting fresh. Eli leaned against the seat, humming a tune under his breath, something he hadn't done in ages. At home, he went straight to the bookshelf, pulling down the old photo Marcus took years ago, David lifting him into the air, both mid-laugh. He stared at it, then looked up. Do you think Daddy would have liked the pictures? I didn't hesitate. He'd have framed everyone. Probably carried them in his wallet to show strangers. Eli giggled, the kind that rises like bubbles. You think he'd put one on the fridge? Take down the grocery list for space. I nodded. Good, because I want to put one there too. That night, after Eli slept, Marcus sent the files. Each photo was better than the last. Eli's face lit up, hair blowing slightly, petals frozen mid-fall, the proud way he stood in his shirt. It looked like a magazine spread, not just because Marcus was skilled, but because Eli had been seen. Not for what he lacked, but for who he was: soft, steady, thoughtful, brave. I printed the one where he looked straight at the lens, lips parted like he was about to say something big, and taped it to the fridge beside David's hose picture. 2 snapshots of truth. One of days Eli was lifted high, one of the day he learned to stand alone. Next morning, Eli woke and went straight to the fridge. His hair was wild from sleep, pajama pants too short, but his face lit up seeing his photo, printed and pinned neatly beside him and David. Morning light hit his smile. He studied it quietly. I like it, he said after a minute. You should. You look like a superhero, I said, handing him toast. He smiled at the photo, then whispered, I didn't feel like one yesterday. You were one yesterday, I said. You were brave. He took a bite and leaned against my arm. Did you tell Marcus thank you? I did, but I think he knew. That afternoon, the school's front office called. The secretary's voice was stiff, like she was reading a script. Mrs. Grayson wanted to speak with me. I asked if it was about yesterday. A pause, then a quiet, yes. I didn't go. I didn't need her explanation, her rehearsed apology, or some policy about misunderstandings. I knew what happened. More importantly, Eli did. He'd felt it. We don't need every room to know our worth. Some rooms aren't built to hold the right people. Instead, I printed 5 more photos. I gave one to Eli's music teacher, who always encouraged his creativity, mailed one to my mother, who cried when she saw it, and kept one for myself, tucked in a book I'd been reading since David passed. One I finally finished. Eli brought one to school. He didn't say much that day, just tucked the photo in his folder, walked past Mrs. Grayson's classroom, and went to the library. His music teacher later said he spent lunch drawing cherry blossoms around a camera, with "Scene" in big block letters at the top. That weekend, we took his drawing to a print shop and made it a poster for his bedroom door. Weeks later, another mom messaged me on social media. Saw the pictures Marcus took. Beautiful. I had no idea Eli was so photogenic. I replied, he's always been beautiful. He just needed the right lens. I didn't hear back, but I didn't need to. This story wasn't for them. It was for every kid left out of the frame, every parent watching their child shrink under someone else's judgment, every boy told he isn't enough because his shoes aren't new, his shirt isn't trendy, or his voice isn't loud. Eli didn't need a staged backdrop, matching outfits, or validation from people who couldn't see him. He needed someone to say, you matter. Not because of what you wear, but because of who you are. Months later, that photo still hangs on our fridge. Every time I pass it, I think of the quiet power of being seen. It doesn't take a viral moment or grand gesture, just a black car, a camera, a friend who shows up, and a boy who learns his value isn't up for debate. Recently, Eli said he wants to be a photographer someday. I want to take pictures of kids who feel invisible, he said, and make them feel like superheroes. I told him he already has. Because long before he picks up a camera, he's shown the world what it looks like to rise. And that's the most powerful picture of all.